It's ramen time! Hey everybody, my name is Uncle Teddy Bear. You can also call me Ken, and welcome to Uncle Teddy Bear Cooks. Today we are going to dive deep into the rich history, culture, and flavors of one of the world's most beloved dishes, and a personal favorite of mine, ramen. Today we're going to go on a journey from the bustling streets of 19th century China to the noodle shops of modern Japan and beyond. So grab a bowl, get comfy, and let's dive into the world of ramen. Our journey begins in China, where the story of ramen finds its roots. The word ramen actually comes from the Chinese words, and I apologize if I'm saying these wrong, la and mian, which translate to pull and noodles. This reflects the traditional Chinese technique of making ramen or hand-pulled noodles. But how did this humble Chinese dish find its way to Japan? Well, it was in the 19th century when Chinese immigrants started setting up food stalls in Japan port cities like Yokohama. These stalls sold simple yet flavorful noodle dishes served in broth, accompanied by meat and vegetables. The Japanese called it shinasoba, or Chinese noodles. This was the beginning of what would eventually become ramen, a dish that would evolve far beyond its Chinese origins. As the dish began to spread across Japan, it started to adapt to local tastes and ingredients. By the early 20th century, Japanese chefs were adding their own twists to the Chinese recipe. One of the earliest Japanese-style ramen dishes came from Tokyo, featuring a soy-based broth with relatively simple toppings like green onions, bamboo shoots, and sliced pork. But as ramen began to settle into Japanese culinary culture, something interesting happened. Regional varieties started to emerge, each with its own distinct flavor profile. In Sapporo, for example, the cold northern climate called for a heartier dish, and thus miso ramen was born, a rich, savory broth packed with umami. Ramen was slowly but surely becoming Japan's own. Fast forward to post-World War II Japan. The country was facing food shortages, and wheat imported from the U.S. became a critical ingredient in the Japanese diet. Noodles, especially ramen, became an affordable and filling option for many. During this time, ramen wasn't just a dish served in restaurants. It was street food, something that could be enjoyed quickly and cheaply from stalls. But ramen's real boom came in 1958 when a man named Momofuku Ando changed everything. Ando, the founder of Nissin Foods, invented instant ramen, a product that would revolutionize not just Japanese cuisine, but the global food industry. His creation, chicken ramen, was designed to be easy and quick to prepare by just adding hot water. It was an instant hit, pun intended, and it made ramen accessible to people everywhere, not just Japan, but around the world. The 1970s marked the true ramen boom in Japan. Ramen shops began popping up across the country, each one offering a unique twist on the dish. This period saw the birth of many of the classic ramen styles we know and love today. In the northern city of Sapporo, miso ramen became a regional specialty. Meanwhile, down in Hakata, chefs were creating rich, creamy pork bone broths known as tonkatsu. These different styles weren't just about taste. They represented the regional diversity of Japan, where local ingredients and traditions shaped the flavors of the dishes. By the 80s and 90s, ramen wasn't just a meal, it was a cultural phenomenon. Specialty shops, ramen festivals, and even television shows dedicated to ramen helped solidify its place as a national icon in Japan. Ramen was no longer a food, it was a cultural experience. By now, ramen had taken off on a life of its own in Japan, but it wasn't long before it spread to the rest of the world. Instant ramen became a staple in kitchens across the globe, especially in places like the US and Europe, where it became a quick and affordable meal option for students, busy professionals, and families alike. And let's not forget the rise of ramen restaurants outside Japan. From New York to Paris to Sydney, ramen shops started popping up everywhere, each offering a taste of Japan's beloved dish. And with this global expansion came new interpretations, fusion ramen, vegan ramen, and creative spins that incorporated flavors from other cuisines. Ramen had officially become a culinary global icon. So where does ramen stand today? Well, it continues to evolve, both in Japan and around the world. Chefs are experimenting with everything from new broths to innovative toppings, pushing the boundaries of what ramen can be. Yet despite all this innovation, ramen remains a dish that brings comfort to millions. Whether you're enjoying a bowl of instant noodles in your kitchen or slurping up a steaming bowl of tonkatsu ramen in a tiny Tokyo shop, ramen is more than just food. It's a reflection of history, culture, and the resilience of the human spirit. I myself love ramen. I like experimenting. I've added beef, pork, chicken, lamb even to the ramens I make here at home. And everything has always tasted superb. So on that note, that's all for today's episode of Uncle Teddy Bear Cooks. I hope you enjoyed this short little history of ramen and learned something new along the way. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, leave me a comment. And I actually have another question. For those of you that do listen to this podcast, please leave me a comment wherever you hear this, whether it's on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple. Leave me a comment. Should I turn this into a weekly podcast or keep it at every 2 weeks? Your input is valued as it helps me grow and helps me bring you more content. So on that note, until next time, I'm Uncle Teddy Bear. Thanks for listening to the History of Ramen here on Uncle Teddy Bear Cooks. Be nice to each other.